Yo, what is up everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and you guys know this if you've been a long time watcher. I usually cover more goofier, happier stories or just make fun of people who just genuinely deserve it. You know, we're never ever like super dark or anything around here. You know, we cover the good stuff, you know, stuff that can make you laugh or can just make you cringe, all that stuff. But on the occasion, we do sometimes cover more depressing, sad stories that really need to be talked about. And today is one of those days because I'm sure most people in the past couple of weeks have been hearing this name a lot, which is Lindsay Clancy. Now, if you are somehow one of the people who don't know who this horrible woman is, she's best known for sitting in jail and prison right now because she murdered her 3 children by strangulation. Now, that is just terrible, dude. A mother murdering her child is just awful. That is just a no bueno move right there. And I think the thing that makes this worse right here is the way she's done it, okay? See, to me, if you're gonna strangle somebody, that is a horrible way to do it because, one, strangulation requires you to actually make the decision and say, hey, okay, I'm gonna strangle this person to death and they're gonna watch me do it. And that's the problem because the mother I'm speaking of strangled her kids. Like I said, that is a very horrible way to go. It's a long, arduous, painful death that no one should experience except maybe her. But the worst part is that she did it to her children. Now, strangulation is a very intimate way to go. I don't know if I'm phrasing that correctly, but to me, that's just the way I see it. It's a very intimate way to go. Like I said, you have to cognitively decide, okay, I'm gonna do this. And second of all, you have to go do it. Most of the time, strangulation is done either by your hands, just around the neck, just grrr, like that. But she took an exercise band to the throats of each of her children and just went to town. That's horrible. You're a mom who's killing your own children, brother. That is beyond terrible. And she's gonna rot in jail and then rot in hell for the rest of her life for it. Because this is just irredeemable shit right here. Okay, it really, really is. It's sad. It really is sad. And one of the things I've been noticing around the internet is in comment sections like TikTok and Instagram and all that stuff is the role the father played in it. Now, before she murdered her children, let's make this clear. She sent him out to go get like food or something. She sent him out on errands to run for the family, in which him being a good husband and a great dad is like, okay, I'm gonna do this because this is what my family needs. So he goes out on an adventure of errands and does his errands. And then that's when she decides to do it. She purposely sends him on an arduous errand journey just so she can get him out of the house so he can't stop her from doing it. That is evil, brother. And it's been said that she suffered from postpartum psychosis, and people on the internet have just been saying, oh, it's not her fault, postpartum psychosis, and they're blaming the dad too. Like, where was he? Why didn't he do anything to stop her? Well, because he was trying to be a good dad. You're going foraging for materials and food for your family so you can feed them like a good father and husband. Why else would he be out? Especially if she herself sent him. That's what I don't understand. People on the internet and comment sections just do not think with logic. And I myself, being a guy, I can't experience childbirth or, being a mom. So I can't experience postpartum problems. But I can research them. And I've done a bit of research, and I've been seeing this probably everywhere around psychosis. Like, people have been saying that so many women suffer from postpartum psychosis. And when you look at it in the grand scheme of things, like the world, like all mothers, because there are millions and millions of moms out here in the world at every corner of the globe, tons of them. But I've looked through it through a smaller glass, through actual scientific studies being done, and out of every 1,000 moms, only 1 or 2 suffer from postpartum psychosis. That is less than 1% out of every 1,000 people tested. Less than 1% of mothers suffer postpartum psychosis. And even if you're gonna scale it smaller, out of every 100 moms, only 1 or 2 suffer. That is still 1 or 2%. That is an extremely low number of people who suffer from this. And for people who do, I feel bad. Postpartum psychosis is probably pretty terrible. Psychosis in general is just bad. But she was, no denying it, she's a psychopath. And she killed her kids. in probably the worst way possible. Imagine you're the child in this situation. You have to watch your mom for the last moments and seconds of your life, see your own mother take it away from you, your own mom, dude. And I get it, the smallest, 8 months, he doesn't even understand what's happening. Could probably barely even open his eyes and like make baby noises, goo goo gaga. Seriously, for the kids who actually know who the mom is and have physically formed a bond with her over the last 5 or so years, however old they were, it's just sad, man. It really is just sad to see that your own mom is gonna kill you. The one who brought you into the world is legitimately gonna be the one to take you out of it. Like, I know parents threaten that a lot. I brought you into this world, I can take you out. She made good on that promise, for real. That is just sad. And I know I've been babbling on for a while, but I've got a news excerpt from Inside Edition about the trial and whatnot, and I've just been really tugging on the heartstrings for me to talk about this for a while because she's a monster. And the people are defending her and going after the dad for it are no better, okay? It is not his fault. People saying he needs to be in prison, he needs to be punished. Shut the fuck up, okay? You know nothing about anything. He was being a good dad, trying his best for his wife who is clearly struggling, trying to do everything he could, and it just got thrown in his face. But no more talking. This is the news excerpt. Here we go.
A dramatic day at the trial of the mom accused of strangling her 3 children to death. The jury was taken today on a grim tour of the house where the heartbreaking events took place. But the accused mom, Lindsay Clancy, chose not to go back to the house of horrors. Here's Ann Mercogliano.
It's an exceptional moment at the Lindsay Clancy murder trial as the judge braces jurors for an excursion to the house where she strangled her 3 children.
You'll have an opportunity to go inside the house. When you're in there, you're not to do any independent research. You're not to kind of open up drawers or open up doors or anything like that.
Lindsay Clancy sat stone-faced in her wheelchair and elected not to join the jurors for the tour.
When you're coming back, you're not to discuss on the bus, hey, we saw that, or did you see this, things like that.
Do each of you solemnly swear?
Court officers accompanying the jurors were also sworn in, vowing to make sure the judge's instructions were not violated.
There's a bus.
A police motorcade led jurors as they traveled in a charter bus to the house in Duxbury, Massachusetts. Jurors toured inside the home, including the basement where Lindsay Clancy strangled her 3 children one by one using exercise bands. They were also given access to the master bedroom where Lindsay Clancy jumped from the window after slitting her throat and wrists. Here's the exterior of the home today, where jurors viewed the 2nd-story window from which Lindsay jumped, leaving her paralyzed for life. Prosecutors argue the 20-foot leap was a fake suicide attempt. When the jury returned, Lindsay Clancy broke down in tears as a doctor testified about trying to save the life of 8-month-old baby Callan after he was strangled.
At the time, his heart had stopped and CPR was ongoing, and he was not breathing. At no point did he exhibit any brain function.
The jurors also viewed the restaurant and the pharmacy where prosecutors claim Lindsay Clancy sent her husband on errands. The children were killed while he was out of the house. Her defense is that she was suffering from postpartum psychosis.
Now, you saw the news excerpt there. They explained that the jurors were actually able to take a tour of her house where she committed this horrible crime. And, the items she used to strangle her children were exercise bands. And then she proceeded to slit her throat and wrists and jump out the window. Now, I don't know how she failed 3 suicide attempts. Slitting your wrist is one, slitting your throat is another, and jumping out the window of a high 2-story bedroom is another. Now, I don't know if you're gonna die from a 2-story window drop. You'll probably just break a bone or something. Obviously, she was left paralyzed for life, which, that's also extremely possible. She got the bad end of it, but she failed suicide 3 times. This is she's like the new age female version of William Afton, just cannot die. It seems like the spirits of her 3 young children were haunting her, making sure she stayed alive so she can pay for her crimes, just like Cassidy did in the FNAF games. So, I know that's just a little joke. I'm just trying to, lighten the mood or anything. But seriously, dude, that's so sad, dude. But I don't understand. How do you fail suicide 3 times? 3 times you fail suicide. It seems so impossible for me. I I can't imagine it. It really must have been her kid's spirits holding on to her life, because my goodness, how do you fail suicide 3 times? It just doesn't make sense. But, you know, I feel like because of the study I listened to and researched, out of the 1,000 mothers that suffer from postpartum psychosis, which is what her defense is going towards and leaning towards, maybe to get a lenient sentence. I don't know. She's still going to see life in prison, and that might be the best scenario, or she may even face death. Who knows? But they're going to use that as the defense, which is possible, and it is a real thing. Postpartum psychosis is definitely not a hoax. Again, only 1 out or 2 out of 1,000 mothers suffer from it. So it's an extremely rare disease to suffer from. And my goodness, I feel like she just got unlucky, or the birth and postpartum effects of her most recent child were just added on to something that was just already mentally or physically there, and it just broke her, you know. And by all means, I'm not siding with her, so please don't, you know, misconstrue what I'm saying. I am not siding with her. She is a monster who deserves life and death in the next coming months or years. I am not siding with her, but I feel like she just got maybe a little unlucky when it comes to that, because again, such a small percentage suffer from it. So it's unknown. I don't know what's going to happen. I can get a good idea, because I don't think that is going to hold up very well in court, especially because she still did it. Now, she can play the insanity card maybe, but I still really think she'll either get life in prison, death, or maybe she'll be shipped off to a mental asylum for it. Who knows? Only time will tell, and the investigation will continue. But anyways, guys, if you made it this far, thank you very much for listening to me ramble on and on. It really is just sad. I'm sorry for taking up so much of your time with my useless babble. But yeah, once again, thank you for watching and listening, and I will catch you in the next one.